right. We'll take a few breaths as we take our seat and begin to settle in. Notice your breath. And begin to notice how you feel in your physical body. And your thoughts. Just observing what's coming up this morning. Is your breath fast and shallow, or slow and deep? Any sensations you're noticing in the body? And as we begin to bring our attention to the breath, maybe it begins to deepen and slow down a little bit. We'll begin to connect to that 3-part breath. We inhale first into the belly, then fill up the ribs, and then the collarbones last. And exhale from the collarbones, then the ribs, and then the belly. Follow that breath in and out a couple more times. Feeling as the breath begins to move through your body. And physically move you in space. Really root down through those sit bones. Feel them plugging down into the earth. And then feel the crown of the head become a little bit taller. Lengthening through the spine. Shifting back just a scooch in space. Feeling a little bit more lifting as we make room for the spine. And then on an inhale, we'll sweep up through the right arm and reach up really high first, and then take it over towards the left, using that left hand pressing down into the earth and pressing the right sit bone down, stretching all along that right side. Take another breath here. And inhale straight up. Reach up one more time, those right fingertips, and then let them flow down. Rest them down by your side. Inhale, sweep up the left hand. Reach up a little bit taller, lifting through that left rib cage, and then we'll take it over towards the right. Pressing down into the right hand and using that to press that left sit bone down, increasing that stretch on the left side. And take a few breaths here to really fill up through the belly and the ribs. Then inhale, press yourself up and reach up a little bit taller, and then let the hands flow down. And we'll take a gentle twist over towards the right. Really gently, our first twist. Letting those right rib cage, that right ribs lean and twist and yearn open towards the right. Keeping the spine in one single line. So we'll take the head back a little bit farther, keep the ears lined up over the shoulders. And have that twist coming from the ribs. And then coming back to center, we'll take a breath. And as you exhale, twist over towards the left. Taking the right hand just gently to the left knee for a little guidance, but not to crank into the twist. Shifting the head again just a bit back to keep the neck in line as one big line, from the crown of the tailbone all the way up to the crown of the head down to the tip of the tailbone. One more breath here. And exhale back to center. And take a breath and notice how each side feels. And then we'll slowly make our way into our tabletop position on hands and knees. Lining up the shoulders over the wrists and the hips over the knees. And we'll inhale, look forward, draw the shoulder blades together. Let the pelvis tip forward like you're pouring out soup from a bowl. And then as you exhale, we'll sink the hips down to the heels, coming into child's pose, rounding through the whole spine. Inhale, press up, drop the navel down, pull the shoulder blades together, reaching the heart forward. Exhale, round through the spine, seat to the heels. One more time, lifting up and pulling the chest forward. And exhale, rounding through the spine. Feeling the low back widen as we press down into child's pose. Inhale, back up to tabletop. Finding flat back for a moment, rolling through the shoulders. We'll go ahead and get a little shoulder roll here. So go ahead and take the shoulders up to the ears and then around and back. A couple more times to drop the chest a little bit. Feel the shoulders rolling from this position. And notice how it feels a little bit different where it gets into the shoulders than if you were seated. And then we'll roll the shoulders the opposite direction. So if you started forward first, then we'll start back. Like a rotisserie. And then come back to flat back. Inhale, reach the right arm up, twist open towards the right. And then we'll thread the needle, dialing it down under that left wrist. Come all the way down onto the right ear. Inhale, lift up, twist open towards the right. Exhale, thread the needle down under. One more time, inhale, sweep up, reach up, and exhale, take it down. And then we'll pause here. You can keep the hand right next to the head and press into the left hand. Use that here, or you can slide it forward, whichever feels more supportive for your neck and shoulders. I'll take a few breaths here to breathe into the space between the shoulder blades. Inhale, press yourself back up to all fours, and we'll repeat on the other side. Inhale, lift up through the left hand, reaching towards the left, and then exhale, dialing it down under the right wrist, left ear to the mat. Inhale, sweep up, twist up to the left. Exhale, down and under. One more time. Inhale, lift up, and exhale back down. Take the left ear down and stay here for a few breaths, either pressing down through that right hand right by your face or sliding it forward. Just observing, maybe on this side it feels a little bit different. Maybe you want to have your arm in a different place. Depending on where you're feeling the best stretch. We'll take a few breaths here to breathe into the upper back. Sending your breath there and feeling it expand, creating space. And then inhale, press yourself back up to our tabletop position. And then we'll do some hip circles from here. So we'll drop the hips down forward and take them to the right and then send them all the way back to the heels and over towards the left. And again, we drop the hips in the front, take them around and down. And as you get into these circles, you can start moving a little bit with the shoulders and the head as well. A little like cat, a little like a disco cat. And then wherever you are, we'll reverse the circle. So we'll take it over towards the left, down, almost a child's pose. And then let the hips drop in the front, really sinking them down, opening that space there. Take a couple more circles, feeling into the hips and into the neck and the shoulders. Allowing for a watery-like movement. You can even stay in one spot if that feels good. And then we'll bring it back to center. Take a breath here to reestablish your foundation with your hands, pressing all the knuckles into the mat and rotating the shoulders outward so those elbow creases are pointing forward. We'll tuck the toes and lift the knees and just hover for a moment here, hugging up through the abs, and then sending the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Taking a moment to pedal into the feet in our first down dog. Lifting the sit bones high, keeping those shoulders rotated outward. And then we'll pause in stillness in our down dog and bend the knees really generously. Allow for a nice knee bend. And then take the sit bones, that base of your glutes there, and then really send them up high to the sky. And melt the shoulders down so that the heart is reaching for those bent knees. And allow the shoulders to really sink down through that space. Like you're pulling that heart forward towards the knees, like it has a string on it. And then straighten up through the knees and keep that length in the upper body. And then we'll walk the feet up to meet the hands. Find our forward fold and sway a little side to side. Maybe making big circles side to side or small circles, your choice here. Little half circles. All the way to one side or just small. You can grasp opposite elbows and see if that allows for some more space in the upper back. And then we'll drop the hands. We'll shake them out a little, rotate through the wrists. And then we'll slowly begin to peel up. Very slowly, taking the low back first, letting the head hang, the shoulders just hang as we slowly roll it up. Getting to the middle back, upper back, and the head comes up last. And then roll the shoulders forward, up and back, and let them glide down the back. I'll take the feet just a little bit wider than the shoulders, giving us a little bit more space here. Not super wide, unless that feels good. And then inhale the left arm up and reach over towards the right. And let the right arm just slide down that right leg. press down into that left heel. And then from here, we'll just do some little baby slides up and down, just an inch or two up and down, feeling into those side muscles as we begin to just really gently get some length there. Just really slow movements so that you can really feel into it. Sometimes the slower we move, the more the muscles actually engage. So we'll just take it really slowly, feeling it into that side, having that muscle, the movement come from this area right here all along the side body, strengthening those oblique muscles. And then bring it all the way up and then float that hand down. Shake it out a little. Notice how that left side feels. And then we'll inhale the right arm up, sweep it up overhead, and then tip over towards the left, sliding that left hand down along the leg. Just pause here for a moment, pressing down into that right heel. Really feel into that side stretch from the heel all the way to the tips of the fingers. And then we'll start our really slow sliding up and down just a few inches and really slow into it. So you're really lifting that hand up from this area, using these muscles here to lift your hand just slowly and then letting it drop back down. And really observe that side body and how those muscles engage. Yeah, a couple of more little slides. Then inhale, reach all the way up. Bring the left hand up to meet it. And then exhale, press the airway, clawing through the fingertips, like you're clearing your energy all around you. Good. Yeah. And then I'll take a breath and maybe shimmy, shake it out a little, and notice how each side feels. And then we'll ground down into the feet, feeling all four corners of the feet connect with the mat. The big toe mound and the pinky toe mound, and the left and the right side of the heel, all pressing down and then lifting up through the abs, letting your upper body come lifted from this region right around the navel. And then we'll inhale the left arm up and bring the right knee up to like a little march balance. And then exhale, lower the hand and the knee. And inhale the right arm up and then the left knee up. Pause here for a moment, lifting up out of that right hip just slightly. And then exhale back down. And then we'll play with left and right here. We'll lift the right leg and the right arm this time. Take a breath to lift up a little bit higher. And then exhale, float down. And then the other side, inhale, left hand, left arm, left leg, lifting up. And then back down. And we'll get into a standing quad stretch. So we'll grab hold of something here or work on balance. And take the right foot back, kick that heel back to your bum, and then grab hold of it with your right hand. And we'll just hold here for just a few breaths, feeling into the right quad. As we breathe a little bit more, maybe allowing for a little bit more lengthening in from the quads and in from the hip joint, letting it maybe sink a little bit more. Stay really lifted through the navel and bring the ears in line with the shoulders. I'm feeling a nice opening through this right shoulder also. Added benefit, getting in a little shoulder stretch. We'll take one more breath. And then really gently release and let it slowly just kind of melt down towards the ground. And we'll shake out through the legs and then set up for the other side. So we'll find our support and then ground into the right foot. And then lift up through the left. Bring that left heel back and grab hold of that left heel. And we're really going to focus more on the stretch for this than on the balance part. So feeling the front of your left leg muscles begin to eventually kind of unwind, unfurl, release any tension along that front part of the hip, down into the quad, down to the knee. Keeping the breath even and slow, helping send that message to that area that it's okay to release. It can get a little sticky there. Take a few more breaths, kind of lifting up out of that right hip. The tendency is to kind of sink into that right hip a little bit, so we'll try to lift up out of the right hip so we're not putting too much weight and pressure on those tiny little left lateral hip muscles. I'll take a few more breaths here. And then we'll let go and then slowly let it lower to the ground, kind of using just a little bit of muscular control there. And then shake it all out. Yeah. Awesome. And then we'll set up facing the short edge of the mat here, giving us room for our flow. Coming back to mountain pose. Pressing down into the feet and then growing a little bit taller through the crown of the head. Like when you were a kid and you wanted to get your height a little bit taller when they were measuring you. Inhale, reach up with the arms. Look up slightly. Exhale, hinge the hips, falling forward. All the way down into our forward fold. Shake out the head. And this time, we're also going to really feel through the low back. So feel the low back release and just widen. Like it just is going to melt and separate all the way down your side body. And then plant the palms and send the left foot back. Coming into a lunge here. We're going to stay here with the left knee lifted. And just rock a little side to side. If this is a little much, you can come down onto the left knee. Whichever feels best here. We'll come down to the left knee and really get into the hips. Or lengthen, straighten that knee. And you'll feel into a little bit different area. So whatever feels like it needs the most this morning, today, in this moment. And on this side. And take another breath, just swaying a little side to side. And then if you have your knee bent, we'll straighten it and plant that left heel down. Inhale, sweep up the arms, pausing in warrior one, right knee over the right ankle. And then we'll take that left hand back, open to the left, coming into our warrior two. We'll take a breath here, let the shoulders drop down into the shoulder girdle. Pull the shoulder blades slightly together. Take the arms back a little bit, the pinkies back just a little bit. Head over the heart. And then we'll straighten through the right knee and tip forward towards the right, bringing the right hand to the front of the right shin. Reach the left arm up high, coming into our triangle pose. And then we'll take the left hand, reach it up over the ear. Reach for that opposite side there. And then we'll take it down, meet the right hand. Reach the right hand forward. Now reach the right hand up a little higher towards the ear and then twist open towards the right, revolving our triangle as we do this with our hand like a big clock hand, taking it up and around. Yeah, good. So we're opening up through the shoulders, reaching towards the right, that right hand lifted, and then we'll take it all the way back around. So now we're like at 3 o'clock. We'll take it back to like 12 o'clock right in front of you. Shift to look down at the right foot. Take the right hand back down to the front of the left or the right shin. From the left hand, we'll reach the left hand up to our 12 o'clock. And then start to twist open towards the left again, looking towards the left, bringing the hand up over the left ear. And then starting to lift up through that left hand like it's dialing the clock up. And then line that left shoulder over the right shoulder for just a moment. Pause here in our triangle pose. And then we're going to do our little slideys from here. So slowly slide up a few inches and then slide back down a few inches. Lifting from the side body, using those muscles to kind of pull you up and then slowly fall back down. So we're not really falling, but using the muscles to take you up and down. And then take the left hand back over the ear again. Reach towards that opposite side. Turning the torso to face the right foot. And then we'll plant the palms, bend that right knee generously. Flip that left heel back so we're back in our lunge. And bring the hands all the way down. Slide the right foot back. Come back to plank pose. Hugging up through the abs. Pressing out through the heels. And then bringing the ears over in line with the shoulders so the head's not dipping down. Take a breath here. Long line. Feeling like a long pole is connecting the crown to the heels. And with the elbow creases pointed forward, we'll slowly begin to bend the elbows, but keep that pole really, really straight. So we don't want to sink the hips down. Like we don't want the hips to drop down first. We want to keep that whole long straight line and lower all the way down to the belly. Take a breath here. Inhale, lift up, just chest lifted, and exhale. Inhale, lift up, little, press the hips down, and back down. One more time, little bit. Just keeping the chin dipped down a little bit, so you're looking down to the mat instead of forward and craning through the neck. And then lower. Take a breath, tuck the heels or the toes, and then press up through straight to plank. And then lift the hips up high and back, downward facing dog. Take a moment here, a breath to reset. Like a big nourishing breath. Pressing down into the palms and lifting the breath up from the palms all the way up to the heart, and then send it down through the toes as you exhale. Making like a current of breath. And slide the left foot forward in between the hands. We'll come lunge on this side. We'll go through the whole sequence on this side. So we start by swaying a little side to side with that right knee down. Depending on what this side needs, and it may feel different than the other side. You may feel like you want to keep the stretch through the front hip, or you might want to focus on the left hip and keep the right knee down. We'll take a few breaths to really breathe into this side. Wants to move where. And then we'll go ahead and lift up that right knee if it was down, and then plant the right heel down. Inhale, sweep the arms up, pausing in warrior one for a breath. Aligning the left knee now over the left ankle. And then taking the right hand back, rotating to the right, opening up into our warrior two on this side. We'll take a breath in our warrior two. Let the shoulders sink down and the abs lift up and in. Tailbone sliding down like it's going to melt down right off of you. And then we'll straighten through that left knee. Tip over towards the left, bringing the left hand to the front of the left shin and reaching up through the right hand. We start in our triangle pose. We'll start with our little slideys. So slowly sliding up a few inches and then slowly sliding down a few inches, just with the hands. Using those side muscles to lift you up and then using them to gently bring you back down. A slow slide up and then slow slide down. One more time here, slow slide up and then slow slide down. And then we'll take the right hand, like our clock hand, we'll start to reach it over the right ear, reach towards that side, and then turning to look down at the right toe or the left toes, we'll bring the right hand all the way down to meet the left. Then reach the left arm forward. And drawing our clock on this side, we start to twist open towards the left, revolving our triangle, drawing our clock open towards the left side. And taking a breath here, twisting open towards the left, letting the shoulders drop down away from the ears. And then slowly drawing that line again. With the left hand, reach it forward first, and then tip to the torso to look straight down at the left leg. Slowly bring the left hand back down to the front of the left shin, meeting the right hand there. And then taking the right arm forward first, reaching it forward, and then taking the right ribs up, twist open towards the right. And then begin to take the right arm all the way back up again, drawing our little half circle with our clock face till the right shoulder lines up over the left shoulder again. Back to our triangle pose. We'll take a breath here in our triangle. And then taking the right arm back over the right ear one more time, reaching long from the right hand, and then turning to face the left foot, drawing the torso back down, bringing both hands down to frame the left foot. Bend the knee again. Pivot on the back foot, coming back to our lunge. Plant the palms, slide the left foot back. We'll come back to our plank pose. Pausing for a moment in plank. This time, we'll do a little extra core. Take the right knee, bring it over to the right elbow, and hover just for a second. And then take it back to plank. Take the left knee, hover over to the left elbow, and then take it back to plank. One more time, each side, right knee to right elbow, shifting slightly forward, and then back to plank. And then left knee to left elbow, and then back to plank. Good. And then we'll slowly bend those elbows, send the elbows shooting straight back as we lower all the way down onto the belly. Land here, take a breath. Then take the fingertips out wide to each side and keep them up on the fingertips. Like our little spidey fingers or like our cupcake hands, like we have a cupcake under the hands we don't want to squish. And then inhale, lift up into a cobra. In the head, but again, keeping the chin dipped down, so it's looking long back through the exhale, we'll lower back down. And take a breath. On your next inhale, we'll press back up into a cobra, down through the hips, lifting through the chest, pulling the chest forward. The heart draws forward. The shoulder blades pull together. We'll breathe here for a moment. And then lower down. Bring the hands in front of you. Make a little pillow for your forehead. Let the forehead rest down on your hands and then just shake out the low back. Just rock it a little side to side. Yeah, really loosening through the low back. Feeling it release. And then bend the right knee. And you can just hold here, getting into the quads again from a slightly different direction. So you can hold here, press the hips down a little bit. So maybe slide the knee back if you need to feel that a little bit more. And we'll just hold here. Or you can reach around to grab the right ankle and guide the right ankle down a little bit more towards the glutes. Wherever it is that you find a good stretch through the front of that right thigh and into the hip region without the top of the knee lifting up too much. So we'll keep the knee planted down. We'll just take a breath there. And then release through that knee. Let it float down to the ground. Take a breath. And then shift to the other side. So bending the left knee. Feeling that stretch through the front. All along from the left hip. Maybe feeling a stretch where the hip meets the thigh. And down to the knee. Just observing what you feel there. And if you feel like you need a little bit deeper stretch, you can reach around and grab that left ankle and draw it down a little bit more towards the glutes. Feeling into this left side. And really observing what's there. So we don't feel any pain, but just a nice release. See if we can find that where something lets go. Take another breath in that. And then lower through that leg. And then we'll shimmy shake the hips out a little bit more. Just rocking them a little bit side to side. Bring the hands back to the rib cage. Press yourself back up to all fours. And then we're going to come around to seated with the legs out in front of you. We'll stretch out the legs, give them a shake out. Maybe even rubbing a little bit through here. That feels good. It feels really good to me right now, so do that. And then bring the soles of the feet together. Come to our reclined butterfly. Rocking a little side to side into our butterfly. Grabbing at the ankles and using that to kind of help straighten us up. I'm bringing the ears over the shoulders again. And drawing the chest forward. And then we'll bring our butterfly to stillness. Reach the right leg out long. Draw the left to the right thigh. And then we'll just reach up to the sky, get a little bit taller and longer through the spine. And then exhale, begin to fold first. Keep the flat back as we come forward. And then we'll come to that place where you just have a flat back, wherever you can keep a flat back, and then bring the hands down. But keep the back really, really flat. So if it feels like you're starting to round, then press back up maybe a little bit more so that we have a flat back, and lift up through the right toes. And rotate that right inner thigh inward towards that left foot. I'll just pause here, feeling that stretch through the back of the right leg into the hamstring, keeping a little slight micro bend in that right knee. And we'll take a few breaths here. One more breath. And then we'll switch legs. So we'll bring in and then take the left foot out long. Setting up here first, bring that, snuggle that right foot up to the left thigh. And reach the left toes straight up to the sky, rotating that left thigh inward a little bit so that the pinky toe lifts straight up. And then we'll start by getting a little bit taller and longer. So reach up and let that kind of pull you up a little bit taller, and then begin to tip flat back forward, leaning, pressing forward, keeping that really straight back. And then where you get to that point where the back wants to round over, we'll just pause there, bring the hands down wherever you are, and just breathe here, keeping the back as flat as we can, and really feeling into the back of this left leg now. Maybe keeping a little micro bend, not locking out through that knee. Pulling the chest forward, keep that flat back feeling. Bring the head back a little bit more in space so that ears are over the shoulders, and then dip the chin. And when you do that, you might be feeling then there a little stretch in the back of the neck and through the upper back as you take the chin down a little bit, but keeping the ears over the shoulders. So we don't want to dip the chin like that, right? We keep the ears in line with the shoulders, and then without moving the ears, we take the chin down. And take a few breaths on this side. I'm going to press down into the mat and notice how that maybe changes things a little bit. Maybe it changes where you feel the stretch. Maybe it gives you a little bit more space, or maybe it doesn't. And take one more breath on this side. And then we'll take the right foot out long and give the legs a little shake out. Maybe rolling through the shoulders a little too. Oh yeah, that feels good. Roll through the shoulders, maybe. We'll sit back on the hands and do that a little bit. Like dip the right shoulder down and then the left shoulder down. Really getting into a little shoulder action here. Yeah. All right. And then we'll bring the knees up. Knees. And slowly begin to lower the low back first. Eventually lowering everything all the way down. We'll keep the knees bent. Take a moment here to sink into the back. Taking any movements here that feel good as you settle in on your back. And draw both knees into the chest. And rock a little side to side, massage into that back. Rocking into any place that is particularly naughty. Naughty or naughty. And then we'll bring the hands back behind the head, interlace the fingers, make a hammock for your head, and press the elbows down for a moment. Feeling that stretch through the front. So as you press the elbows down, you might be feeling a stretch through the side of the arms, all the way into the pecs, into the chest. Just take a few breaths, press down. You may notice that one side is a little bit more difficult and wants to stay higher than the other. Or maybe not. Maybe they're even. And then we'll press the low back down firmly into the mat, hugging the navel down to the spine. Lift the head. And then rest it down in that hammock you just made. So we're not using the neck muscles here. So our energy is coming down straight down into the core. And then we'll send the left leg out long and let it hover a few inches above the mat, keeping the low back down flat into the mat. So maybe your leg is up here, wherever it needs to be, so that your low back can still stay firmly planted. And then we'll switch legs, bring the left knee in, send the right leg out long. Take a breath here, really focusing on that low back staying flat. And then we'll switch again, send the left foot out long, bring the right knee in. And then one more time on the right, send the right foot out long, left knee comes in. And then let the head come down, squeeze the knees into the chest, rock a little side to side. And bring the toes up towards the face, flexing through the feet, rotating through the ankles. And we'll bring it back to center. And then we'll set up to do a few more just like that. So first we'll bring the hands to the back of the head, interlace the fingers, and then we'll do our press down again here. So keeping the knees tucked in, but we'll press down the elbows. Really feel that opening through the front body, through the front of the chest, through the shoulders, through the arms. Lengthening and stretching, maybe even feeling it down into the armpit, chest area. Often ignored area that feels really good to stretch open. We'll press down for just a few more seconds. Keeping the breath nice and slow and steady. And then we'll focus on shifting that tailbone a little bit, tilting the pelvis so we press the low back down flat, and then lift up the head, and then let it just rest in your hammock, in your hand hammock, so that we're not straining through the neck. And then reach the right foot out long. This time we'll start on the right. Left knee plugged in. Low back flat down to the mat. And then switch. Bring in the right knee. Send the left foot out long. Keeping that head just resting in your hand hammock. And then switch. Send the right foot out long. Stretch through the front of the leg, even as we keep that low back planted flat. Feeling those abs engaged and beginning to quiver. And then switch, send the left foot out long. This is the last one, so we'll really make it count here. Hugging in through the abs. And then bring the knees in, let the head rest, and then rock a little side to side, squeezing the knees into the chest. Massaging into the spine. All right. And bring the feet down, plant the feet down, bring the hands down along either side. And we'll snuggle the shoulders up slightly up under the heart space and play with a little bridge variations here. So we'll begin by lifting up the hips, coming into our bridge pose. Send the chest to the sky, and then the chin tucks into the chest. And from here, we're just going to pause here, lifting up through the hips, and then lift the right heel, and then bring it down. Pressing down with the palms, or you can bring them to interlace under the tail, your choice here. And then lift up through the left heel, and then drop that left heel. And then we'll lift the right heel, and then lift the left heel, and pause here. Pressing up through the hips, taking a breath, then lower just the heels, and then lower the hips all the way down. Bring the knees in, give them a squeeze, rock a little side to side. Rotate through the ankles as you rock and roll. And then we'll take the knees out a little wider, make little circles with the knees, one side and then the other as we rock side to side. Just kind of finding some movement here. Something that feels natural and interesting. Find something that feels interesting. And then bring it back to center. Bring the feet back down. Take the arms open wide to a T. Shift the hips to the left and drop the knees down to the right. And take a few breaths on this side. Beginning to elongate your exhale. As you exhale, let that left shoulder sink down a little bit farther down towards the mat. Letting the forehead widen, the skin of the face release and relax. Maybe even closing the eyes, letting them be still, and relaxing around the eyes. Nothing to focus on here or have to look at, just let them rest. Two more slow, steady breaths on this side. Then slide the knees back to center, lift the hips. Let them rest in center for a moment. Then slide them over to the right and drop the knees over to the left. Gentle twist on this side. I'm not trying to achieve any particular twist or crank into anything. Just let it sink into the twist. Let gravity take over. As you exhale, maybe the right shoulder can drop a little bit more down to the mat. Letting the jaw soften. The tongue can drop away from the roof of the mouth. The muscles of the neck can soften. slowing down the breath. We'll take 2 more breaths on this side. And slide the knees back to center. And then lift the hips back, realigning the spine. Take any last movements here you need to get comfortable for our resting pose. Maybe rocking the knees a little or rotating through wrists or ankles. Shifting, pressing, rocking, rolling. Eventually we'll make our way down, legs out long, and feet rest open gently, hands, palms gently facing up. And then snuggle the shoulders up slightly under the heart. And sigh it out. With every inhale, we draw energy up from the earth. With every exhale, we let something go. Maybe even bringing in a little mantra. You can say, let go as you exhale. Allowing the whole body to surrender to gravity. Melting a little bit deeper into the earth. Observing your breath, following it in and out. Slowly begin to deepen your breath. Bring movement back to the fingers and the toes. Slowly and gently beginning to move. No rush. Savoring the moment. Making the movements just a little bit bigger. Until you're ready to draw the knees up. And gently roll onto one side. Make a little pillow with your arm. Pause here for a moment, observing the stillness. As you're ready, just gently press yourself up to seated. And take a breath here in a seated pose and notice how you feel.